Project Bluebeam claims NASA and the UN plan to fake an alien invasion using mind control and holograms to create a new god. If you're not convinced by what you see, they'll use technology to broadcast the message directly into your brain.
The United Nations Court will require that all nations which launch nuclear weapons disarm when the invasion is shown to be false. And how would the United Nations know that the invasion was false? They will have staged it, of course.
All my life, UFOs and aliens were a fringe topic. When Serge Manasse made his predictions, they were a fringe topic. Yet somehow he predicted that high-profile people from the military would come forward with claims of alien encounters. He warned that whistleblowers aren't telling the truth, they're spreading disinformation. They're slowly bringing the subject of UFOs out of the fringe and into the mainstream.
And he said the best way to cause all people in the world to come together in one world government and end war forever would be if we were attacked by some other species from some other planet. This is the age of deception. There's no doubt about it.
Hey friend, welcome to my channel, Creating Elude Mental Gems. This channel is dedicated to leveling up in all areas of your life. So let us learn together, read together, but most importantly, grow together. Now, without further ado, let's get into this video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is some pretty scary things out there. AI have been scaring me a lot, and I know I keep saying the AI video is coming soon. Listen, it's a lot of research. I know I'm going to go in. This video is going to be probably 2 hours long. It's one of those lengthy videos that I will have because there's so much to unpack when it comes to artificial intelligence and what's coming down the pipeline in 2025, okay? But today I want to talk about Project Bluebeam because it was highly requested from my alien video. Like, why is the government now telling us that aliens are real, etc., which I have linked that video in the comment section pinned. If you haven't seen that, consider it like part 1 and this is part 2. But Project Bluebeam was requested a lot for me to get into, and I promised that I would look into it and research it, and let me tell you, my mind is blown. But I'll give a disclaimer. I don't necessarily believe every aspect of Project Bluebeam. I do come from a more biblical standpoint myself, so I'm looking at everything from a biblical and prophetic lens on what the Bible says and how the end time will be biblically and prophetically. Yes, there's a lot of truth and what is being stated in terms of Project Bluebeam, and we talked about that in the alien video as well. But you know, I'm gonna give you guys my final thoughts on that. But for many of you guys who don't know what is Project Bluebeam, we're going to do a reaction to this very well done video. I just was like, I watched his part 1, but we're reacting to part 2, but I'll have part 1 of his video linked in the description so you guys can go check out, because a phenomenal, very balanced view on things and not, you know, fear-mongery, but it's the White Files on YouTube, and we're gonna react to the clips basically. So what is Project Bluebeam? Who started it? So you guys can have a gist before we get into it. It's just the theory that all the governments, united governments, will stage a fake alien invasion to control the world and bring us and usher us into this new world religion, new age religion, and new world order. And they will do it using artificial intelligence and technology to deceive and manipulate the masses, basically. And they have step-by-step ways on how they will do this.
Project Bluebeam claims NASA and the UN plan to fake an alien invasion using mind control and holograms to create a new god, then scare people into accepting a one-world government. Step 1 is earthquakes. Do we have the technology to create them on demand? We do. We do this all the time. They're fracking for oil, so the technology is here. Faking an alien invasion, even without holographic technology, could be done. All you need is a story and a compliant media to push it.
UFO sightings are a national security threat.
He discovered a secret cabal of powerful elites controlling the world from behind the scenes. He called them the Shadow Masters. Whatever you want to call them, Serge Manasse was determined to expose them. In 1994, he published a book about his investigation, Project Bluebeam, which outlines a detailed plan to create a one-world government and a new world order. NASA and the United Nations will be front organizations. The UN will allow the elites to influence every country on Earth, and NASA will create the technology to turn influence into control. Manasse discovered that Project Bluebeam will create the biggest hoax ever conceived. This illusion will be so convincing that it becomes the new reality shared by everyone on Earth. Using advanced technology and psychological manipulation, Project Bluebeam has 4 key goals to ensure everyone's primary allegiance is to the New World Order. First, destroy religion. Second, destroy national pride. Third, destroy the family. And fourth, destroy individual creative freedom. As soon as his book was released, he was followed, surveilled, his phones were tapped, he was harassed, and then there was a knock on the door, Child Protective Services. They took his kids away. He never saw them again. He was arrested for spreading misinformation. The next day, Serge Monast was found dead in his apartment. The official report said he died of a heart attack. He was only 51 years old. His latest physical showed him in perfect health. 2 other journalists looking into Project Bluebeam also had sudden heart attacks, though they had no history of heart problems.
So second talking point, because I do have 3, and then I'll give my final thoughts after that, is how will they do it? Well, they have to create one religion where everyone worships the same God. We talked about that in the previous video. It is easier to control the masses that way, strip nations of their religious individuality. They will destroy every religion by using archaeology and new discoveries. If you're a Christian, you have noticed these new forbidden texts and scrolls that have been popping up lately and being discovered, right? Like the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then when you're comparing a lot of it to the Bible, which is how the Eden philosophy, there's a lot of new age things that are pushed in there, philosophies. When you compare it to the Bible, you see how, it's like the Eden philosophy, the serpent ideology, where you mix a lot of truth, but then you subtly throw the lie in there and people don't even know. But the lie that is thrown in there really takes you off course on the direction of what is right with God, right? It changes your whole beliefs. And there's more paths to God than Jesus, and you have to be, if you're in the Christian faith, if you're a follower of Christ, you have to be very careful with these books, but it's already a deception. Deception works so well because it's not obvious, right? It wouldn't be deception if you could easily just point it out and call it, even a blind man can see it's deception. Deception works so well because it's covered by a lot of truth and you have to really dig to find the lie. And it's better to have a lot of skepticism with every new information that you have than being so open to accept whatever you're hearing as truth. I always tell you guys that no matter what you watch, like I'm saying in the video we're about to react to, I have my own things I would say about it. Not everything I agree with. You have to cross-reference your research with the Bible, pray and ask the Holy Spirit to really show you truth, but also be skeptical of what you see on the media and new information that is giving to you. Do not be so ready to accept, because I always believe, had Eve shown a little bit more skepticism and was like, hey, let me go cross-reference with God. Let me go pray to God with what you're saying. Eve didn't even consider to pray or to call on God to say, when did your word change? Or consider to, let me go get my husband, let's talk it over. She just accepted what the serpent said. And a lot of us are like Eve. We're hearing new knowledge. We're hearing new books. We get all excited. Our minds feel like we're being open because the fruit was the wisdom of opening your eyes to be like God, right? So knowledge was what was enticing to Eve to know. And with these new scrolls and books that are coming out, a lot of us, which I felt like I was being open to new knowledge, to secret, forbidden knowledge that, oh my goodness, they tried to keep from us, and my eyes are being open to this, and then you feel like your eyes are being open, which is what's so enticing. But you're reading these things without first praying and going to God and saying, Lord, if this is not of you, show me why I shouldn't take this, take this with a grain of salt. And it's okay to research what's out there, to know how others are thinking, like, especially me, because I do videos on YouTube and I want to speak on God. Like I just have to. I have to understand how the minds of others that will come and ask questions work. So there's a lot of research that goes into my videos to know what the opposing side is saying. But you have to be very skeptical when this knowledge are coming in and pray about everything so that you yourself are not deceived, if that makes sense, right? But they will use these newfound archaeological scrolls to make you doubt everything you ever thought you knew about God, according to the Bible. I know it sounds strange, and there's no way they could get away with that, but half of you watching right now probably believe in the theory of evolution and dinosaurs. They make you believe we came from monkeys and wasn't created by God. I believed this for a very long time, the theory of evolution, and I did a video on the theory of evolution, which I'll link below, and about dinosaurs and giants and all of those things, but I believed it for a long time. I was one of those scholars that believed everything that I was taught in school and every book that I've read, not questioning anything, right? But also now they have more resources at their disposal to seduce and manipulate even the most elect and scholarly in our society. And the thing is, I believed in a theory of evolution as a Christian in the church. How can you pray to God and you believe in God and you believe in creation, that God created man in his own image, but still believe that you came from monkeys and still fight on a theory of evolution and still believe this? This is how it was. I was in the church and I believed in a theory of evolution, which is so insulting to God. And a lot of Christians watching right now innocently probably was having conversations with people and intellectualizing the theory of evolution and believing that we really came from monkeys and we were subhumans, right? A lot of Christians, they do believe it. And you have movies in the media like Lucy that, you know, if you haven't seen Lucy, I always talk about doing a movie breakdown of it. I'll do it and, you know, I'll get to that point. But they really structure it to really make you believe the lies. So they already do that and they use archaeology, these bones, all these information. Archaeology and science listen, just check out my All Things Spiritual playlist because this is not what this video is about. So I don't want to go on a full-on rant because we've already talked about all of these things. But I have that video pinned also as well as the playlist, everything in the comment section, okay? But according to Project Bluebeam, they will do this using technology and AI. With the archaeology, they can even recreate bones using archaeology, etc., and artifacts and just tell you an age. Oh, it's 2 billion years old. You know, when the earth is not that old. That's the biggest lie that we believe, is that earth is 2-3 billions and billions of years old. It's just a lie. Dubai already has the technology to make apparitions appear in the sky to millions, and the technology is already there. But just how far would they go?
The elites behind Project Bluebeam know that implementing a one-world government requires everyone to share a single set of values. That makes the population much easier to control. Step 1, create a single religion where everyone worships the same God, the God they create. Serge Monast called this the New Age religion. How do you destroy all religions? Well, find new archaeological artifacts that discredit them. Produce hard physical evidence as proof that their doctrine is wrong. Dead Sea Scrolls. For hundreds of years, the Bible was thought to be complete. Then in 1947, a shepherd finds some clay jars in a cave, and suddenly there are new religious texts, like the Book of Jubilees, the Wisdom of Solomon, and the Book of Tobit. This discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls didn't fundamentally change religion, but it did cause scholars to ask, what else are we missing? Imagine an earthquake in the Middle East, which reveals hard evidence that Jesus never existed, or an earthquake that reveals technology buried for 2 million years that proves human DNA was engineered by aliens or another advanced race. That would completely undermine not just the story of creation, but also debunk evolution. Project Bluebeam will fabricate any evidence necessary to discredit every religion on the planet, and they'll hide that evidence in an earthquake. Project Bluebeam's Step 2. Monast calls it the big space show in the sky. He discovered that NASA and a few intelligence agencies developed the technology to project 3D holographic images into the sky. The projections will appear so lifelike that people will believe they are witnessing a miracle. Imagine looking up and seeing Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, all speaking to their followers in their own language. The dominant god of each region will appear in the sky. Their god will tell them their beliefs are all wrong, then will slowly morph into a new god. This is the first appearance of the new Messiah.
The projections of Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Krishna will merge into one, and explanations of mysteries and revelations will be disclosed. This one God will, in fact, be the Antichrist. Therefore, old religions must be abolished to make way for the new age, new world religion, representing the one God Antichrist they see before them, who will explain that the various scriptures have been misunderstood and misinterpreted, and that the religions of old are responsible for turning brother against brother and nation against nation.
If you're not convinced by what you see, they'll use technology to broadcast the message directly into your brain. You may not realize it, but this technology is being used on you right now. The third step of Project Bluebeam is mind control.
The third step in the Bluebeam project uses electronically augmented two-way communication, where ELF, VLF, and LF waves will reach each person from within his or her own mind.
They'll use electromagnetic waves to interfere with brain function. They can shape perceptions, create emotions, and influence beliefs,
convincing each of them that their own God is speaking to them from the very depths of their own soul.
We know for a fact that the U.S. military and intelligence have experimented with mind control. We know they used sound waves in the Vietnam War to make the enemy anxious without knowing why. The government uses EM waves for all kinds of dark purposes. They've patented a device that can trigger emotions in a target from a half-mile away. But what's really scary about the patent is that it claims it can piggyback its signal onto any frequency. Everything that uses electricity has an electromagnetic field. Think you're safe living off the grid? Nope. Radio signals can bounce off the ionosphere and reach anywhere in the world. Serge Manasse predicts a universal supernatural manifestation with electronic means. In other words, an alien invasion.
Now let's get to the third talking point, okay? So what about the alien invasion? How can they fake that regardless of AI? With the spread of information, too many people would be onto them. Well, in my other alien video, we talked about how fallen angels will perform signs and wonders to deceive the masses and showed biblical text to back that up. What this video we are reacting to doesn't mention is the supernatural side, right? But that's not the kind of channel it is, but rare research video nonetheless. Not everything will be AI, right? As Christians, we know this because it is prophetic. And the Bible, like I said, is the one book that shows you the beginning from the end, all prophecy that the Bible has ever stated, down to Daniel and Revelations, even in Genesis. And I can do a Bible study alone on Genesis chapter 3 to show you step by step how all prophecy has been fulfilled through the ages, right? Not everything, the kingdoms that will come, rulers that will be and rulers that will not be. This Bible knew it way before, okay? So I believe in the supernatural, a part of it. Not everything will be AI. Most of this will be supernatural. The works of demons and fallen angels. I explain that further in my part 1 of this video, so we won't go too deep into that in this video. But they would have deceived government officials first, globally, to get every nation under the same agenda. And everyone wondered after the beast. All the nations will fall for the great controversy and deception. But yes, there will be a quote-unquote alien invasion, and the fallen angels will try to prepare men for the coming of Christ, the one true God, by making humanity believe that Christ and his host of angels are the real aliens coming to destroy the world. It's been predictive programming in so many movies, especially the Marvel superhero movies. There's always a God in the sky coming to destroy all humanity, and we must all work together to fight this God. Consider it Thanos and all the Avengers as fallen angels. I mean, they are already named after ancient gods, but that's a video for another day. We'll get into that, all the Marvels and stuff like that. We'll get into that, how Superman and Batman and all of these superheroes and Captain America, how they're literally deities that people used to worship back in the days. They just turn them into superheroes for your kids to watch. And that's not just a conspiracy, that's fact from their creators, out of the mouth of their own creators, right? But let's see what Project Bluebeam believes in terms of how technology will be used for this fake invasion.
One is to make mankind believe that an alien invasion is about to occur at every major city on Earth, in order to provoke each major nation to use its nuclear weapons in order to strike back.
Subsequently, I found out that at the kind of Bunkport, there were all these UFOs zipping around when Bush was up there out on a cigarette boat. And they didn't realize they were ours. So now we're getting into false flag 101.
The United Nations Court will require that all nations which launch nuclear weapons disarm when the invasion is shown to be false. And how would the United Nations know that the invasion was false? They will have staged it, of course.
All my life, UFOs and aliens were a fringe topic. When Serge Manasse made his predictions, they were a fringe topic. Yet somehow he predicted that high-profile people from the military would come forward with claims of alien encounters. He warned that whistleblowers aren't telling the truth, they're spreading disinformation. They're slowly bringing the subject of UFOs out of the fringe and into the mainstream.
And he said the best way to cause all people of the world to come together in one world government and end war forever would be if we were attacked by some other species from some other planet. This is the age of deception. There's no doubt about it.
The military releases videos of UFOs, and Congress holds hearings. And the news reports all this with a straight face. By spreading the idea of non-human biologics with advanced technology, the elites behind Project Bluebeam are creating a narrative that will feel completely logical once the attack happens. Nass' theory goes on. The invasion will begin with staged UFO sightings over major cities, causing mass panic. Governments around the world will issue warnings of an impending global catastrophe. Can you imagine what it would be like if the skies were full of UFOs, fighter jets, and nuclear explosions? I mean, really think about it. That would be so terrifying that people would gladly give up freedom in exchange for survival. So the nations of the world will unite into a central one-world government. It's the only way to protect humanity from further alien incursions. Once the threat is over and the population is calm, using a combination of holographic technology and radio waves, everybody's brains will be wiped. This will be done by building upon CIA brainwashing techniques developed and perfected during MKUltra. Then with every mind on Earth a clean slate, the New World Order can begin. Families will be dissolved because you don't know who your family is. You only know the information being transmitted to you by Project Bluebeam. So you go along willingly and peacefully. You might not remember who you are, but they will. They'll know where you live, what you did for a living, who your family is, and most of all, they will know what you own. And you'll be assigned housing and a job because you don't remember where you lived or what you did. But you won't work for money. You don't need money. Everything you need is provided for you. You feel like this is how life should be. Any other way of life sounds primitive and chaotic. And they know that as long as they keep the population fed, meaning fed food and fed propaganda, people will comply. And anyone who doesn't, they quickly disappear. All homes and businesses will have cameras and microphones. Children are created by DNA genetically optimized for desirable qualities like submissiveness, agreeability, and lack of curiosity. By then, children aren't born to parents. Everyone is sterilized at birth. The Shadow Masters keep tight control on population growth. They are incubated, educated, and assigned a role in society. When they're no longer useful, they're euthanized. This will seem humane. Letting someone live for years, sick and old, will seem cruel. Globalism, if done right, could help poor countries benefit from wealthier ones. There could be better cooperation, easier trade, cultural exchange, fewer wars. But their vision is more like Serge Manas's prediction. Centrally planned government, a single currency, controlled wages and prices, assigned jobs, no private property, and depopulation. They want us to drive electric cars and take public transportation. They fly on private jets and are driven around by a fleet of Range Rovers. They want to install devices in our homes to limit the energy we use for heating and cooling, but keep their 5 houses at perfect temperature year-round. They want us to eat a plant-based diet.
Insects are among the most abundant and nutritious animals on the planet.
And bugs, they really do.
How can we grow nutritious and sustainable food that supports healthy and productive lives with far fewer resources available?
But when these people get together, they go through a lot of steak and lobster. Greenpeace says that Davos is a distasteful masterclass in hypocrisy. They don't see themselves as hypocrites. They need more resources because they're more important than us. They can't spend all day in an airport waiting in security lines and dragging bags and dealing with flight delays. They're so busy saving the world, they have to be exempt from the rules. Ida Auken said at the World Economic Forum in 2016, the state would own all resources, and we just subscribe to them. Sharing and limiting access to resources would cut waste and pollution.
You want the function, you want the service, right? Why do you want to own a cell phone if you can just lease it? And if you lease, why shouldn't you lease your refrigerator or your washing machine or your dishwasher? Or why do you want to own it?
And you don't want to own a home.
Secure a mortgage, buy a ton of furniture, and spend long hours on upkeep and renovation once in a while. Why make all these commitments? Life is full of surprises.
Renting gives you more freedom and less responsibility. And if the state controls resources, they'd be shared more fairly. They would limit access for some people in order to give access to others. That resource rental economy idea is just another flavor of communism. But they present it as this grand plan that would make everyone's lives better. Their presentation is deception. We know what would happen. We'd have to contribute our private property, but the elites wouldn't. They're too important. They're doing this for the greater good. That's not evil. That's just arrogance. Project Bluebeam is a warning. Don't be deceived into accepting globalism. To accept their vision for a new world, existing institutions like religion, family, and patriotism need to be completely dismantled. Most of us don't want this. So the message has to be delivered as a subtle deception. Like maybe you can slip it into pop culture.
Let the past die.
I've read humanity's story, so now I'm erasing them.
I will tread this universe down to its last atom. Till then, create a new one.
That the old ways serve us no longer.
The past is dead. We either move forward or we die with it.
Kill it, if you have to.
Karl Marx said that the old ways have to be torn down, and the only way to do it is by force. That's the only way. But the tools to control perception are here and being used against us every day. So what can you do? Well, get your information from as many sources as you can, but know they all have an agenda and use subtle deceptions to manipulate you. When you hear kill the past or unburdened by what has been, that's Marx talking, but they won't admit it. It's deception, and I want you to recognize it. Once you learn all the subtle ways the powerful use deception, you'll be changed forever. The world goes from black and white to color. You can't ever be deceived again. And when you learn, teach the skill to your kids, to everyone you can. That's the only way to stop Project Bluebeam and every other plan that requires us to surrender our freedom to the powerful. More regular people, like you and me, have to recognize when we're being deceived and say no. Whether it's the media, politicians, or a giant god in the sky, more of us need to see the power structure for what it really is. An illusion.
So now I'll say this was pretty intense, right? I have my final thoughts on this. Maybe Project Bluebeam will be used on those who are left behind once Christ comes, and that is the final great deception. Who knows? All we can do, ladies and gentlemen, is stay prayed up. Get into your Bibles and don't blindly accept anything the media tells you. And I'll say, do I necessarily say 100% I believe Project Bluebeam is how everything will come? No. But again, I do see how they're gearing up a lot of AI technology to work. And there was one president, I'm not sure if I recall at the time if it was the Venezuelan president or even the Russian president at the time. Oh man, but it's like almost wiped clean off the internet. Like you cannot find the information on it. But I remember when the earthquake happened in Haiti, the president came out, whether it was, I believe, the Venezuelan president, that said, hey, this earthquake was artificially made. It was made by the American government. They came out and said it, and a lot of Haitians believed it. And then when they came to help, and the Clintons was behind it, I already know how I feel about the Clintons, but when they came to try to give aid to Haiti, they made it worse. They made it worse. They tested out this earthquake on Haiti. And everybody knows now CERN used to be a conspiracy theory, right? Every time you mention CERN and weather machines, it used to be a huge conspiracy theory. But now it's common knowledge. Governments are talking about it openly and freely. Everything that we deemed a conspiracy in the past, now they're finally admitting it. Back then, people used to mention aliens. They'll call you a nut. They'll call you cuckoo. And if you say you don't trust in NASA, you don't believe any information that they had us believe we came from evolution. But if you say anything about flat earth, they call you a nut, right? But you cannot question anything, but it's coming out that everything that everyone ever thought was a conspiracy in 2024. And I believe in 2025, it'll be even crazier. We are seeing that was not a conspiracy at all. And if you still have your faith in NASA or in any government body, I'm telling you, you're sadly mistaken, and you need to wake up, because we are truly living in the last days, in the end times. It is really serious out here, and 2025 is going to be crazy. I saw this thing on Instagram. I think I saved it, that I believe January 25th, 2025, all of the solar system, all of the planets will align into one straight line. Who knows what this means, but I believe 2025 will definitely be a very prophetic year, and a lot will happen biblically. I've already been seeing it just from the Bible. Like, oh my goodness, we need to stay prayed up, and it's not to be scared. Honestly, I get excited to watch prophecy be fulfilled, because I know the end of all of this nonsense will be over and our God will be back. You know, that's all I see. All this nonsense, chaos, taking children and selling them, all of these things, these demonic artificial intelligence and what's to come down. When I do this AI video, you guys are going to be right there with me, begging for the Lord to come and put an end to all of this before this even happened. Because what's coming down the pipeline with AI, especially in 2025, there's going to be such a major boom. I've been studying a lot of what's going to be released. And we know the the military is always 20 to 40 years ahead with technology. They're going to be releasing things so fast, it's going to be insane. And if you guys knew, y'all would be on y'all knees praying 24/7, getting your life right and begging the Lord to finally come and put an end to this.
To achieve their goals, whatever they are, the power structure has to deceive us. Okay, back to the UFOs, the whistleblowers. I take a lot of heat for openly saying I don't trust them. Everything they say is approved by the Pentagon. That doesn't mean what they say is true. It means the Pentagon wanted them to say it. Luis Elizondo was in charge of ATIP, but the Pentagon said he wasn't. Then he said they're smearing him. Then they said, well, he worked as a contractor, but not ATIP, and on and on and on. Elizondo said he resigned because he was frustrated with the government's lack of transparency about UFOs. Okay, tell us what's going on. What'd you see? What do we have? Well, he said, well, I have to be careful about what I say.
So they made it very clear to me that I have to be very careful not to talk about something that I'm not allowed to talk about.
Oh, but there are more details in my book.
Whatever's in there is cleared.
Oh.
We started slowly convincing him, or not really convincing him, but just giving him the idea that this might be just UFOs, extraterrestrials. And he ran with that.
I have to be careful. Is it possible? And I'll be very careful what I say.
Hey, I just tapped into a secret laser on Kirtland Air Force Base. Obviously, we can't have that happen. So all I had to do was say, well, you know what, Paul? Maybe what you did see was UFOs. There's a place near Culpeper, Virginia called The Farm, and people are go there to be trained to be professional disinformation, basically how to lie well. There's techniques that we use, that we're trained to use, in gaining that person's confidence. And I use those techniques against Bill Miller and agreeing to say things that we wanted said regarding the UFO community or within the UFO community. And when you see people on CNN or CBS 60 Minutes, the folks that they will allow to talk about it are people that have been cherry-picked by this cabal, this secret government group, to say what they're told to say. It's scripted.
I want to be careful that I don't, because again, I haven't had what I have approval to talk about. I gotta be careful. I don't want to. Yeah, and again, I got to be careful because some of that stuff I haven't been cleared to talk about.
Do you have any examples of this? Yes, of course. Nick Pope, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, all those guys.
Okay, you gotta be careful exactly what I say, but
they have been, I know for a fact, been told what to say.
I'm still advising the U.S. government on this. You still consult with the government. You still have a security clearance. So, and I'm trying to carefully message this, and on occasion, I still will consult for the U.S. government.
Comment below your thoughts. I love you guys so much. This is all I have to say for this video. Check out the comments if you want to watch more. And then also check out part 1 too. I'll pin that in the description of this video. He did very well on the research. And share with a friend. This video is like, don't keep this information to yourself, guys. Okay? Teach people how to be aware of deception. Don't be shy about that. Share it. Teach people how to be aware of deception. And don't just guard yourself and your mind, but guard the minds of your loved ones. I'll see you guys on the next one. Until next time.